What's up, you guys? So I found a post on the subreddit, as usual, the Neville subreddit, and it's a quote from Neville, and it's called "This is how I do it." So here it is. When I close my eyes, this world is shut out, and I am blind to the outer world. Then I feel myself into the state of my desire. With my inner eye, I see it all around me. I sense its solidity. And with my five senses, when my five senses are awakened, I have the feeling of relief, knowing it is accomplished. When I open my physical eyes, my physical world returns and tries to persuade me that what I did was unreal. But having done it done it time and time again, I know that my desire is moving towards its objective fulfillment. Neville Goddard. And this post is very succinctly and this quote is very well stated. You've got all the aspects that a lot of people talk about when they write these big write-ups. This is containing a lot of, this is pretty much his teachings almost in a nutshell here. Closing your eyes, shutting out the 3D reality, going in your inner world, in your inner eye, sensing its solidity, using your five senses to feel it real, to be aware, getting yourself in the state of that it is true and in reality now. The feeling of relief, we've talked about this in videos lately, that it is this relaxed feeling. It's like that feeling of safety that I was talking about with Lucy too. It's like, it's not a heightened emotional state. It's not a hysterical excitement. It's not some nirvana type peak experience type of state. It is just that simple feeling that, yeah, like I'm okay. Everything is okay. I'm safe. I'm safe with this thing. This thing belongs with me. It belongs to me. The same way that this holding this water bottle, it's no different. It's just a part of my reality. The fact that I have access to clean drinking water is the same type of feeling. If you're in a first world country, you have access to running water. You have access to these things that you take for granted almost. That is that feeling of relief. Like, yeah, if you ever go on vacation or if you ever are traveling and you get home and you're so thankful to have, your access to your bathroom, access to your fridge, access to the comforts of life that you usually take for granted, you take that sigh of relief, like, finally, I feel at home now, right? That is that type of feeling, that sigh of relief that is accompanied with this thing being a natural part of your reality, a normal part of your reality. When I open my physical eyes, the physical world tries to persuade me that it's not part of your reality. But having done it time and time again, I know that that desire is getting pulled towards me. My desire is moving towards its objective fulfillment, as he says. And that is the letting go. That is also the detachment about it. It is not that holding on. It is not the fearful. It is not the attached. It is not the anxious attachment style. It is not the avoidant attachment style. It's not the fight. It's not the flight. It's the secure attachment style that is in between, that it says, yes, like this is so, this is fine, this is true. It's the same thing I talk about when I talk about robotic affirmings, how it's kind of robotic and emotionless because simply repeating it by repeating it to yourself over and over. And in this case, Neville doing sats over and over, seeing it in his mind's eye, feeling it in his mind's eye. Like he says, with all five senses, hear, smell, touch. It conditions the mind to say, yeah, this is normal. This is a normal part of my reality. And the mind doesn't know the difference. They've done studies on this. The mind does not know the difference when you really get into a state of visualization And there's that study with the basketball players, how they are shooting free throws. And the ones that practice in their mind's eye, the ones that do mental rehearsal, they scored just as good, if not a little bit better, actually, in that study that was done. It's a famous study. You can look it up. As the people that physically practice throwing the free throws, the players that practiced in the physical world, when they do brain scans on people and people are in a dream, they're activating the same their taste receptors, their touch receptors, the same parts of their brain that activate when you're having a certain experience. Tactile experiences are getting activated as people are dreaming, and they're unconscious in their dreaming state because the mind doesn't know the difference. That's why lucid dreaming can be such a powerful technique as well for just getting yourself used to whatever it is that you want to call in, for your manifestation powers, your abilities to feel familiar and experience it real in your mind. Have the experience before you have the physical 3D experience. And so that's very powerful. That's why I talk about lucid dreaming. So I'm going to read a couple comments here. Based on his last sentence, it looks like he didn't necessarily try to convince himself after the technique that his desire was already his, but rather that he was sure he will definitely have it. And there's a reply: spirit, imagination, exists outside of space-time. When one does the work, it is finished and the 3D will catch up. That's kind of what I said earlier. It's like the 3D is catching up to this reality that you have composed. You have just imprinted it into the 4D, and now the 3D is going to catch up to it. Somebody said, it confuses me when people say imagination has that kind of power because I daydream all the time, but it's not as if my daydreams come true. And there's a response. That's the thing. The technique of imagining that Neville advocated using visualizing, if you repeat the scene over and over again, eventually there'll be a flash of light and it'll be like you're experiencing it in reality. And that's what we're talking about. That's what Neville meant by remaining in the state until we give it sensory vividness of reality. Again, all the senses that you can get involved. It's not just visual. It's all your senses, your auditory sense, your kinesthetic sense, your olfactory sense, like your sense of smell. It'll be like though your eyes are closed. It's as clear as reality. And that's what's crazy, is when you have lucid dreams, it's almost more vivid than reality itself. When you open your eyes, you'll have experienced the reality of the state and be filled with faith. And they replied, super helpful, thanks. Have you been able to experience that with SATs? Yes, I have. I used to visualize a scene, but never reached the point where it became vivid. But after reading some old posts of Orion Directorate, I attempted it and succeeded to make the scene vivid on the third night. On the third night, after reaching the state akin to sleep and repeating the scene for some time, it was like my mind locked into the scene, and suddenly after a flash of white light, it was like I entered the scene. All the colors were as vibrant and vivid as reality, and it really felt like I was living that scene. And when repeating it many times with full sensory vividness, I dozed off in the action and woke up the next day with that accomplished feeling Neville wrote about, believing it was done, and I had 100% faith it would manifest. And then somebody asked, did it manifest though? And then they replied, of course, it never fails. So yeah, that seems like something that's maybe particular to this person, but somebody asked about it. So I know it may sound really dumb, but can you explain this white flash of light to me a bit further? How does this happen? You were in a meditative state, SATs, right? Was it before sleep or something? And visualize the same scene several times until this happened. Did you force/imprint feelings on the visualization or something? I have such a difficult time trying to grasp these concepts. You can easily manifest stuff and even feel them, but just drop it like it's never going to happen. And they respond, there's no dumb questions. We're all learning every day. So the flash of white light, I previously experienced it only during meditation. So I was familiar with it, but I didn't know it would happen right before the scene I imagined became so vivid. Yes, I was in SATs and I repeated the scene at least over 1.5 hours, at least before it happened for the first time. And yes, I did augment the scene by asking how would I feel if insert desire manifested between every 1 to 20 repeats in the beginning to feel it. I totally understand what you mean. Trying to make sense of it using Neville's words was also complicated in the beginning for me, but once you apply it and continue, it makes sense. The easiest way I found to grasp these concepts is to test and try all techniques Neville taught and find the one that's most easy for you and just practice and master that technique and apply to everything. I don't visualize till I fall asleep to impress a feeling on my subconscious now, as I find simply assuming a feeling by asking a question and remaining in it until I feel relief, a soothing energy spread in the solar plexus, easiest for me. And when impressing, you must continue until you feel it is done, and then you'll drop it automatically because what you once felt like I want this will feel like I have this. So you wouldn't desire what you already have, and you'll be filled with inner knowing that it's done. Hope that helps. Yeah, so somebody else said, I would not say it was literally a flash of white light, but to me it felt and looked more like a veil of faint white light slowly dissipating, and gradually / immediately I found myself in a reality where things felt almost as real as this one. Then I would fall asleep, but it doesn't always happen as I expected. And then somebody has a reply about daydreaming. Daydreaming, I think, is slightly different from imagining it is truly fulfilled. Daydreaming is more like, wouldn't it be nice if this happened? It would be like this if it were true, as opposed to, this is how I want my future to be, and I know I will get it after feeling, seeing, smelling, hearing this future. Interesting. Interesting point. Neville liked to use this phrase, isn't it wonderful, when you imagine the wish fulfilled. Isn't it wonderful is not the same as wouldn't it be wonderful. Yeah, that's a good distinction there. One of them, the other is still stuck behind if. Does that make sense? I suppose another analogy is, if you're planning a wedding, you could either tell the wedding planner the tablecloth will be blue versus daydreaming aloud, it would be nice if the tablecloths were blue. Said aloud like that, you can see how people would react differently. The former is assertive, the latter is more wishy-washy and leaves room for negotiation. Somebody said daydreaming works too. The thing is, results are inconsistent no matter what technique anyone uses. Proof is in the results. So somebody said, this is why scripture emphasizes knowing. To know is to unite with. Often we don't unite with our daydreaming in the first person and persist afterwards in the assumption of what was done. Somebody says the visions and daydreams you believe in and persist in will always harden into fact. So somebody said, I'm a heavy daydreamer, and sometimes I like to daydream made-up situations and experiences in my head. There was one specific undesirable situation I would often repeatedly daydream every now and then. I never believed in it or anything. I didn't want to experience it, and this was all before I knew of Neville. But I still felt the emotion of this situation and invested myself in it when I did daydream it. After around a year, ironically around the same time I discovered Neville, it manifested exactly as I saw it and hit me like a brick wall. Yeah, that is why, to be mindful of our thoughts and what thoughts we're thinking and what thoughts we're entertaining, because if we keep thinking along negative thoughts and dwelling and worrying and having anxiety about future outcomes that we don't want to have happen, you're putting your attention on that. You are the things that you put your attention on, what your awareness is focusing on, are being drawn to you. So somebody has a response. I don't know about everybody else's reality in this thread that's saying otherwise, but in mine, daydreams definitely manifest. I don't always have to persist or believe it in. I've had daydreams about a few things and had the feeling of, wouldn't it be nice if this happened? And then within 24 hours, that very thing happened. Allow for the possibility for your daydreams to come true, because they for sure can if you say so. I decided it is so, and so it is. Somebody said that's the same thing as belief and faith. She says, well, there's a difference in defining these terms here, and oftentimes, people in this sub make the term belief into something completely different than what I understand belief to be. So I just wanted to clarify. For me, a decision might take less than a second to achieve, I'm not trying to convince myself of something. I just pick. But yeah, I understand what you mean. Thanks. And I would probably say that for her, if she's having success with daydreaming, she's not feeling resistance about what she's daydreaming about. Whereas other people, you feel resistance around having a really nice house. You think you don't deserve it. You think you don't, there's no way you can get it, but you're daydreaming about it. There's that resistant feeling that you feel. You're not feeling that sigh of relief. Whereas she's probably feeling the relief. She probably her self-image, self-concept is large enough that she feels comfortable containing that within her reality. And that's why these techniques, ultimately it really boils down to what your self-concept feels comfortable that you can contain, just like I talked about in my recent interview with Lucy. And going in and identifying where your limiting beliefs are, and what being honest and getting real with yourself about the thoughts that you're entertaining throughout the day is the best, most effective thing that you're going to need to do on this journey. Like before, as a foundational thing, before you start applying these techniques, because otherwise it's like throwing paint on a house that is on a shaky foundation. If you're worried about throwing paint on the house, but the house is, not standing upright, there's no solid foundation to the house, then you're using a band-aid solution for an issue that's not going to, even if you were able to get that for a bit, again, it's not going to sustain in your reality, because your self-image isn't in line with that being normal and natural for you. And ultimately, that is the biggest piece of this entire thing. And it's summed up within this quote that we read here. You see it all around you. You're awakened, you have the feeling of relief. And even though your physical world tries to persuade you otherwise, you know that it is done, but that's only going to happen if you have a self-image and a self-concept that is comfortable having and maintaining and sustaining that thing in your reality. If you think, using dating as an example, that all men are scumbags or all women are just trash and they're all toxic and they're all just terrible people, if you have this idea and you get into a relationship sooner or later, or if you have the idea about yourself, so those are our two most foundational beliefs, is the beliefs that we have about ourselves and the belief that we have about ourselves in relation to our reality. So if we have a limiting belief that we live in a hostile world, we live in an unfriendly universe, we live in a place where the world is out to get us, and again, that lines up with, all men are evil or all women are terrible, right? Then whenever we have that relationship, and even if we want a healthy relationship with that, and we find that great person, that great woman or that man that we genuinely want to be in a relationship with, eventually those hardened beliefs that we have, those limiting beliefs, are going to rear their ugly heads at some point in the relationship, and they're going to distort our reality. They're going to cause us to essentially do things that are to our own detriment, because you're carrying that baggage around with you. You're carrying that negative old story around with you. And as much as you try to put that Band-Aid on, it comes off, you put it on again, comes off, you put it on again, you keep slapping the Band-Aid on, eventually something will happen that will trigger this old wound that you haven't addressed the wound, right? You keep putting the Band-Aid on. Something will occur within this relationship. The old wound will be exposed. You will sabotage it. You will go out and do something stupid. You will go out and actively ruin the good thing because you haven't changed that self-concept. You haven't gone and fixed the foundation of the house. You keep slapping paint on the house to try to cover up the cracks or whatever. So if we can understand this, that's what we need to do. That is the most foundational thing. And that's why I have this ebook. It is down below. You guys are free to download that at your leisure. And again, you can pay me whatever you think it's worth, the value that I provide in these videos. If you guys get a lot of value out of these videos, enter in the amount that you'd like to pay me for this. The thing about that is that a lot of the time when you pay for something, I've let it down below so that you can pay what you want. So you don't have to pay anything. You can pay $0. It's there. You can download it for free if you want to. But if you pay for it, even if it's $1, $5 that you put in, even if you decide to pay me $10, whatever, any amount that you pay, if you pay, you're going to take it more seriously. That's something that I've learned in my life. When I get advice from people, and I've signed up for various classes and courses over the course of my life, things that will help me, and paid for information and paid for teachers and mentors and things of this nature. But when I pay them, I take the information more seriously. I actually go and do the work. And that's the thing. You can download that ebook and let it sit on your hard drive all you want, or even read it. But if you don't actually do the exercises that are in that ebook and actually take it seriously and actually do them daily, because that's what I did. I found this information and I did these exercises daily. I focused on this for like over a month. This was many years ago during one summer, and I took it very, very seriously. I went in, identified all the root limiting beliefs that I had that were creating all these limiting thought patterns that were playing out in my life. I seriously took a look at all my behavior and why I was acting the way that I was acting, why certain things were triggering me, what was going on internally, why was I telling myself that negative story? And I went and I rewrote the story. I went and rewrote the beliefs. I destroyed the old beliefs and I replaced them with the new ones. I went and dug out those weeds from my garden and I replaced them with beautiful, positive plants and flowers that I wanted to grow, to bloom, so that I could upgrade myself into that better version of myself, the version of myself that I knew that I deserved to be. And you deserve it too, but you have to do the work. It's not going to be done for you. Nobody's going to do it for you. Download that book, do the exercises, take it seriously, and you will reap the rewards. I promise that you will. I promise that you will see results if you really take it seriously and do it. Do the exercise for 30 days. Reflect on those new beliefs. Reflect on those old beliefs and thought patterns that you are breaking, that you are banishing from your awareness, and what you are replacing them with, and you are going to start seeing them unfold. Anyways, guys, I'm getting like passionate about this because it's really so important. You can watch as many videos about this as you want. You can go and binge as many YouTube videos. You can binge as many of these Reddit posts as you want to read through, and really just watch as much content like this for entertainment as you want. But unless you really, really go and do the work and really work on your self-concept, really rewrite those beliefs, really rewrite the story that you're telling yourself, go in, identify them, become aware of your thoughts, become aware of what is going on internally, none of these band-aid solutions are going to do anything. None of these techniques, whether it's 3-6-9 method or 5-5-5 or like cups of the water, whatever flavor is going on today. All these videos that are like, it only takes 17 seconds, or it only manifests this overnight. Listen to this and your life, like none of that's going to work. Maybe it could work if you have this self-concept piece in check. Maybe some of those techniques might work. More than likely, they're not going to work. They're not going to work unless you do this, unless you go in. And when you do this, and then you apply scripting, and then you apply robotic affirming, and then you apply visualization, you are going to see movement. You're going to see movement in your reality. That's just the way that it works. But again, you have to create the space for that movement to be there. Because if you do robotic affirming for a little bit in the morning, but then all day long, you're having those other thoughts come in, they're sneaking in through the back. Well, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. My mom told me that I wasn't pretty enough. My dad told me that I was never going to amount to anything. My teacher told me that I wasn't smart. The kids on the playground made fun of me. Whatever happened, you might not even consciously be aware of it, but when you go and do the work and do these exercises, you will uncover what those beliefs are that are holding you back. And again, guys, doing it and going and replacing the beliefs, that is the surefire way that you are going to get results. I'm going to wrap this up now. I think I've said all that I can about this subject. It's really, really true. And that's why I'm getting, kind of passionate about it, talking right now. But anyways, much love as always. Drop me a comment. Go ahead and download the book if you feel like it, if you really want to make that change, and hit me with a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.